Today we're checking out these square tube drop style Nerf side step bars in matte black for the 2021 and newer Bronco 4-doors. If you want to make getting in and out of your Bronco easier while giving the truck a tougher side profile, this is a really solid upgrade that brings both function and style to the table, so they're definitely worth considering. These step bars use a drop style design, so they're going to give you a more usable stepping point than that flat bar that's tucked up tight to the body. This is going to be a big plus on a Bronco, especially if it's lifted, running bigger tires, or you just want an easier step in and out of the cab every single day while you're using it. Another nice feature here is the wheel-to-wheel length, because that gives both the front and the rear doors easier access, which is a real benefit on a 4-door that sees some family duty, long road trips, or everyday use hopping in and out. The square tube shape also gives these a more rugged and more modern look than a plain round bar, so they do a good job of adding a little attitude down the side of the truck without looking overly bulky. These are going to be a great option for somebody who wants better entry, a tougher appearance, and a little more protection down the sides of the Bronco for things like trail brush and parking lot door dings, and that's all in one package. When it comes to the construction on this, you are getting aircraft grade aluminum alloy with a matte black finish. That aluminum build is a really nice fit on these because it gives you strong durability and better corrosion resistance while still helping the bars stay lighter than the heavy steel setup. The matte black finish also works really well on a Bronco by giving it that clean off-road ready look, and you know these are going to last the long haul without getting those little chips and starting to rust because of the nice powder coat and the aluminum foundation. As far as the pricing goes on these, they're coming in right around the $400 price range. That's very fair for a full pair of wheel-to-wheel side step bars like this, because you're getting strong material with upgraded aluminum, easier entry for both rows, the front and the back, and a more aggressive look than the stock setup. When it comes to the install on this, it's getting rated just a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. You can get this job done in about 2 hours of your time. So let's head on out to the shop. We're going to give you a detailed walkthrough of exactly how this install process goes.
All right, for this install, you're going to need a 3/8 driver, a 13mm ratcheting wrench, a 10mm socket, a 13mm socket, and various 16mm sockets, and you will also need a 3/8 ratchet. Today, we're going to be installing a set of side steps on a Bronco. Let's get started. All right, the first step we're going to be doing is installing our steps onto our rails. We're going to do that by flipping it over. We're working on the driver's side right now. We're going to flip this over and get each of these steps lined up right there, and also on this side. And with the provided hardware, we're going to get these mounted up. So we're going to get our bolts along with our flat washer and lock washer, and we're going to get one started. And we'll get one on the other end. All right, now that we have these two installed, holding it in place, we're going to install the remaining 4, that's 6 in total for each step. Once you have all of those in, you can now tighten this down with a 13mm socket. Now we're going to do the same thing for the other side. Get one started. Now we can come back and tighten these down with a 13mm socket. Once you have both of these installed, you can now repeat this entire process for the other rail. All right, our next step, what we're gonna have to do is install the T-bolt into these slots right here. But first, we're gonna thread on our plastic washer that's gonna hold the T-bolt in place for when we're mounting it on the vehicle. So we're just gonna put that on and thread this through just till we get close to the end. And then from this position, we can now take it, insert it along the slot, and then twist that into place. And then the plastic washer will hold that into place right there. And then we'll also do the same for the front end. And then once we get those in, we're gonna repeat the same steps for the middle T slots. All right, next thing we're gonna do is take our square bolt and slide it into this slot right here. That's gonna be for our mounting bracket later on. Now we have one more T-slot right here on the top end. We're gonna get our plastic washer and thread this in. And now we can take it, slide it into the slot, and then turn it sideways. And once you have all your T-slots and the square bolt installed, you can now repeat that entire process for the other side. All right, to get this party started, we're gonna start off on the driver front bracket, and we're gonna install the 2 supplied hardware bolts. We'll install one just to hold it in place, and we're gonna come back in with our bolt, our lock washer, and our washer, and thread that in. Just one quick note, all of the brackets are labeled accordingly, so you have driver front, driver center, and driver rear. And holding that in place, you can now tighten this down with a 16mm socket. All right, moving on to the driver side middle bracket, we're gonna install that just like this, and the 2 bolts are gonna go one on the top end and one on the bottom right here. Again, with the provided hardware, we'll get one threaded, and then start our top. And then we can come back and tighten this down with a 16mm socket. All right, due to some tight clearances, we have our shorter socket on there. It's still 16mm, and now we can tighten this up. All right, moving on to the rear bracket, same concept. We're gonna be installing a bolt up here and one down here. It's gonna be hard to see with the bracket in the way, so we'll just get our hardware started. Again, it's gonna be hard to see, but we're gonna tighten this down with our 16mm socket. Now we can install our support bracket. We're gonna go through with our bolt and our flat washer. And it's a little hard to see, but we're gonna come back through with a flat washer on this side, and also our lock nut. Once we have that on, we can tighten it down. All right, now we can come through with a 13mm socket and a 13mm wrench. We're gonna tighten this up a little bit, and then we're gonna fix the bracket into position. All right, once that's tightened down, we might need to come back and make any adjustments that we need to, but once we're finished with all 3 brackets on the driver's side, we're gonna repeat the entire process for the other side. All right, just a quick little reminder of the T-bolts down here that you slid into the slots. We're gonna have to position those and line them up to get them lined up with our brackets once we install it. But once we flip it over, we'll have a better idea of where it's gonna line up at. All right, we got the front one and the center one lined up just a bit. Might need to make a couple adjustments, but once we got that on, now we can go ahead and install the bolts underneath. All right, moving on to the bottom, we can now install our hardware onto the bolts. They come through with a flat washer and our lock nut. Now we can tighten this down using our 13mm socket. After you get these 2 tightened up, you can repeat this for the middle bracket. All right, moving on to the rear bottom bracket, we're gonna install the hardware. We have a flat washer and a lock nut. We'll thread that on. And then we'll come back in and tighten this down using a 10mm socket. All right, coming back in for our last bolt on the rear bracket. It's kind of hard to see, but we're gonna get up in there with a flat washer and a lock nut that I just dropped. And once we have that threaded on there, we can come back in with a 13mm ratcheting wrench and tighten it down. All right, once we have all of our bolts tightened up on our bottom of our frame and our brackets, we can make any adjustments that we need to and get it centered, and we can repeat the entire process for the other side. All right, that wraps up our install for square tube drop style Nerf side step bars in matte black for 21 and current Bronco 4-door. Just remember, for everything Bronco related, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.